welcome, Megan.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great pleasure to have you on the very first. You're the first interview on for from the Red Couch. So I don't know if that means anything to you. I don't know if it means anything at all, but it's great to have you on here for the first one.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Briefly, just give me you're in Northern California. Briefly, give me a little idea of how you got to Northern California.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Midwest in Ohio, northeastern Ohio. And I knew from a young age that I always wanted to be on the West Coast. I have cousins from California and they'd come visit and I was just like, that's the vibe. That's where I want to be.
Were they the cool kids?
They're the cool kids. Yes, they still are. So I went off to Boston, Berklee College of Music to study right after leaving high school. Got my degree, worked as a music therapist for a little bit, did some gigging, and eventually I just got to a point where I thought, you know what, it's time. I need to be on the West Coast. October 2008, I packed up a car and just drove off, landed in Northern California.
Wow. And there had to be some sticker shock when you found out how much it costs to live here.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit.
I didn't have a job fixed for me. I just came out here and I knew I wanted to do music, but wasn't sure how to get there. I did find a job working in a public school with a child. I had a job, but
right.
it was it definitely took some time to get my footing and figure out my place here.
As far as like your furthest memory back of you being interested in music as like playing it and performing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's some photos actually of me, a toddler standing in a diaper with my wooden spoons and my mother's pots and pans, and that was my first drum set. When I was little, that was drums, percussion. That was my thing. And then being 3 years old, watching a Disney movie at my grandmother's house and running right to her piano and tapping out the melody that I was hearing. And so learning to play piano by ear at 3, and just being that kid that just wanted to play anything, any instrument I could get my hands on, from a really young age.
That's awesome. We had talked before and you had indicated that and I was pleasantly surprised to hear this. You started out as a drummer.
Started out as a drummer. Yep. Started out as a drummer. And like I said, just, I'd hear something along the way. I'd hear an instrument. I went to see the orchestra a lot as a child. Horn is sort of like, it's part of that double reed, the oboe. And so I wanted to learn the oboe. So I taught myself oboe and I with horn. Or it's like I pretty much anything, if I'd hear something, it became like almost an obsession. I had to learn it. In high school playing in the high school jazz band, playing bass, because the director needed a bass guitar. So he asked me, would you be interested? Yep. Learn bass.
Awesome.
I was just sort of that person. Yeah. And then of course with percussion, because I had the background in piano, I was learning all the mallet percussion. I was playing in the youth orchestra. I was in 5th grade and I was playing the flute. I wanted to play drums. They handed me a flute. This is nice. It's shiny, it makes pretty sounds, but I'd hear the high school, the quad player would come out, with his drums. And I said, I was 10 years old. I was like, that's what I want to do. And so when I went to the band director in 6th grade and I said, look, I want to be a drummer. It wasn't about being a drummer. It was about being a drummer. And
you were in 6th grade demanding that from your teacher.
Yeah. And he said, well, we've got the glockenspiel, piano. Why don't you could play the bells, and I'm just like, sure. I loved it.
So was the performing thing, did that come naturally to you?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from very young, and even when I went off to college, I originally went there looking to study music education. Mm-hmm. Just thinking that was the thing to do. And ended up coming upon music therapy. And that was just like, immediately I knew that was what I was supposed to be doing. But performance was always my first love.
Give me a little snapshot of what music therapy is for those who are watching that don't know.
Sure. So music therapy, it could be a whole bunch of, it really depends on the person. It's for really, at least for me as a music therapist, it's about meeting that person in the moment where they are. And if you're working with a client, what are their goals? What is, if they have an IEP, if they have a treatment plan, what is that? And what does it look like? And you take into consideration, and this could change with every session and how they show up. It's like, the goals they're trying to get to, but they may show up as a different person each week. And so it's really just meeting them in the moment and using music as the pathway to.
So that's what I was going to ask you. This is like, these are people with everyday
I have,
personal issues, right? It's not, they're not musicians, right?
right. Well, there are some. There are
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
So many different settings. I worked with children with special needs. Children are full range there. I worked in a residential treatment center with women with eating disorders. I worked in a nursing home with patients, some who had musical backgrounds, some who did not. But it was really like, for me, and this is still true. Really, it's whoever needs the music. That's
Well, it's got to be a pretty satisfying career. I mean, you're helping people, right?
amazing, especially now with what I'm doing. I mean, there for a period of time, I was, before I moved out to California, I was just doing music pretty much with grown-ups, aside from children with special needs, during the day. But my passion was really, performing in the evening. And for a few years, I was just doing music with children, and now I'm doing music. I mean, just anyone, everywhere, doing music.
So I mean, give me a snapshot of a typical session. I mean, you're sitting there with instruments, or are you playing something on a, like a boombox type thing, showing my age? But how does that look when you're in a typical session with someone?
Yeah. So for me, I would say, and I have not practiced music therapy in years. So, but if I were to do it now,
Yeah.
it would show up with my guitar. I'd show up with a bag of instruments, percussive instruments. I'd show up with, nowadays it's nice. We just have our mobile devices, and we can use music in that way, or record. For portability, it would be me showing up with my guitar, huge bag of instruments, something I could record or play music on, and that's it.
Wow. That's pretty cool stuff. That's great stuff. So you're doing music therapy, and how did it convert? Because surprise ending to everybody that you are a children's musician. That's part of what you do anyway. So how'd you get there?
Yeah. So when I came out to California, like I mentioned, I did not have a job. And I knew I wanted to get into music, but I wasn't sure how. So I saw a job, and this actually, it worked out amazingly, because it was really just about a mile from where I was living. There was a school that needed one-on-one instructional aids with children with special needs.
Wow.
I thought, well, I've got that background. I mean, maybe it's something. And so I was there for almost a year, and someone approached me and said, I heard that you were a music therapist, and a friend of mine has this music business where she's teaching families, and she and her family are taking off for a year. She wants someone to take over her classes. Would you be interested? And so
Yeah.
that was my in, working with doing music with children. And so I had to go to I went down to Newport Beach for a weekend and got my certification to teach interactive music classes with families. And I came back up and started doing that, and it literally came to me, and I never looked back. That was it.
Wow. So what time frame was that when you started working with kids?
Yeah, so the time frame of that. So yeah, everything happened so quickly. I moved here in 2008, and then did the training in June of 2009. So, within that year. And also my daughter was born in 2010. So it was all very fast.
Right. Yeah. So you did need to move to California.
Did need to move to California, yes. But it made perfect sense, because I was about to be a mother and started teaching children. I realized I could have my daughter with me, which I did. There's pictures of me. She's snuggled up in the ergo at 6 months old, and I've got the guitar over her.
That's awesome.
Multitasking. Yeah, that's what we moms do. And it was perfect. It was like what I was supposed to be doing.
So from that time, when did you get to the point where you were ready to do your first children's music album?
Yeah, it's a great question. So 2010, 2011, I was sort of directing this program and teaching, and I realized, I don't need to follow someone else's program. I could do this all on my own. I had my own style from being a music therapist. I liked the flexibility, being a mom, having the flexibility, offering a flexibility to the families, and also something that was accessible, because I found that some of these programs can be, they're expensive, and I wanted something that everyone had access to. I felt everybody has a right to music, no matter where you come from, no matter who you are. Timing of writing my own music. So 2013, my son was born. I was trying to write a little bit, but it was more of the grown-up stuff. I didn't want to lose it, but I was so into the kids' music, and it just sort of started happening. I would have, my son would be on the, on tummy time on the floor, and my daughter would be running circles around him, and I would just be, she was obsessed with cheetahs, and I would just I'd grab the guitar and I'd start to sing what I was seeing, or just started to, have fun with it, and they would laugh. They think it was hilarious, and so it just became this thing. And before I knew it, I had, an album full of songs ready to go. That was 2013, 2014. So 2018. So I was trying to start recording in like the 2016, 2017, but I was a full-on mom, and I was trying to take care of everybody and didn't really set aside that time. But 2018 came around, and it was just like, if not now, when? And that was it. It just sort of took off from there. And I had spent time in the studio before, but nothing so much, more songs. And I did all the instruments, of course. So it's like, it was like a full arranging all the instruments, watching these songs come to life, engineering the whole thing. I had a home studio, so did post-production, and so I had access. Fortunately, I had access to all kinds of fun gear.
That's great.
Yeah, so I just recorded everything in the studio. I get up at 3 a.m. The kids were still asleep. I'd 3 a.m. I do all the recording, everything I could, and then I'd be there for them when they woke up. And then when they went back to sleep, I'd go back up and do it again. It was just as much time as I could spend. I just became.
Do you look back fondly on that time period?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It was because it was something I did on my own. It was like birthing that third child,
That's a good analogy.
So it's very much the same thing. It's just, there's really no frustration with it. I'm just so passionate about it, and I love what I do. It's just.
Well, they say the best writers, you write what you know, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wild rose, I could see you hurting when my storm came through last night. Dewdrops of tears holding your fears. You got your petals pulled tight. Don't close, don't hide the beauty resting inside. Just say you're fine. Spread your love light with no hesitating. The garden is waiting, Oh, you got a taste of the rain to grow. What are you afraid of? Go out and show them what you're made of. Be strong, be brave, all the other game will never be your ways. Don't close, don't hide the beauty resting inside. Just say you're fine. Spread your love light with no hesitating. The garden is waiting, Oh, you got water runs so deep, don't go back to sleep. Live your blossom to the sky, soak it in your sun. Will shine, 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 shine. Don't close, don't hide. The beauty resting inside. Just say you'll find. Spread your light with no hesitating. The garden is waiting, you know. Oh, you got to taste the rain, you know. Oh, you got to taste the rain. Oh, you got to taste the rain to grow. Wild Rose, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. If you can picture back the Megan who was in Berklee School of Music, living in Boston on your own, I'm assuming for the first time, if someone went back in time to that Megan and told her that she would become a children's artist, what would that have looked like? How would she have responded to that?
I no. Would have been like, I couldn't have imagined. I probably would have just laughed and
yeah.
That's
so funny. Well, because we just don't know where things are going to take us sometimes, and I'm assuming that, or I'll just ask you, how has having your own children, how has that affected your style and your outlook on music?
It's been incredible. It's, I feel like, I think as parents, we all have those moments where we just want to give our children the world, and it's just not, we can't always be 100% all the time. And in those moments where I think, get the mommy guilt, I think to myself, their memories are going to be of me sitting, playing guitar with them and singing with them, songs and having them on my albums.
Exactly. Yeah. What a cool legacy to have for them,
Absolutely. Oh, my first album, my daughter Kai, who's now 11, she and I did a duet of The Water is Wide.
Wow.
And which was inspired by when I was her age watching the Lilith Fair on pay-per-view.
Wow.
This is one of the most profound musical moments of my life. Watching, it was the Indigo Girls, Sarah McLachlan and Jewel singing Water is Wide. And I still get chills, but it was like it was that moment that I was just like, that I want to be up there doing what they're doing.
That's awesome.
So to be able to have that moment with my daughter, almost like passing the torch, and who knows if she's going to do music. She's really artsy, but it was having that moment with her. But also I feel like I feel like truly, I still shake what I love for a living to be able to do well here and still be there for my children and, know that I'm offering, that I'm able to serve my community. My children are a part of it. It's
like you're living your best life, right?
Truly. There's not a moment that goes by where I don't feel that gratitude for, what, where I am. Yeah. That's
awesome. What was the name of your first album we were just talking about?
Bubba and Boo, which are their nicknames.
That's great. That's great. And what year did that come out?
June 2018.
Okay. That's awesome. And we'll be putting links and everything for everybody to, so they can find your music and buy it and all that kind of stuff. And do you have merchandise too on your website?
I do.
Okay.
I have some. Oh yeah, I did. I teamed up with this really cool Wildlife Works. They do. It's like all organic bamboo, cotton, and they actually. You have to look them up. Wildlife Works, but they do. They have this small. It's not even really a factory, but it's just a small space in Africa, and they have the locals, working there, and it's putting the money back into their village, and so I have some shirts, and they're like this really soft.
Wow.
What else? Shakers, all kinds of little fun.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, I always like to look at things, from different angles. And how amazing is it that you have your merchandise stuff being made in Africa? you know,
For me, there's so many ways to go about. I mean, there are so many ways to go about things like merchandise or whatever. For me, it's not just about providing things. It's about what goes into it. What's the love that goes into it? It's about giving and
right.
And serving, and that ultimately that's what I'm all about. And so if I'm able to do that where it benefits not myself but others, that's
right.
really
And also not hurting people.
Sustainability and what's going to benefit the planet.
That's awesome. So you also do like children's parties and things like that, from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm and really, I mean, another silver lining of this pandemic has been not just children's parties, but now I'm performing for audiences of all ages. But before the pandemic, I was every weekend I was out. I'd be, in Davis and then Napa and then Tiburon, and it's like in one day. I'd be going from
Wow.
party to party, just performing, showing up, for a half an hour to an hour, however long they wanted me. I learned what were the favorite songs. I'd have the set list and I'd go and with all my instruments and scarves. And I was just sort of like a traveling band in a box. I don't know.
I'll get to the pandemic. I have a couple of questions about that, but as far as like your music, have you always maintained your adult style? And actually, before you answer that, you had mentioned to me that it's kind of a new genre of music, right? What was that called?
Kindie. Yeah.
Kindie. So instead of being an indie artist, you're a Kindie artist.
Kindie artist.
I love that.
There's this one artist who I just adore, Frances England. She's in the Bay Area, and she has described this indie style family music, and I borrow that. I think it's a great way of putting it. For me,
yeah.
Children's music has changed over the years, and there's some amazing artists out there. For me, it's about creating good music. It's about providing an experience for the listener, but knowing that there's listeners of all ages. There's going to be kids that want to hear the same song over and over and over, and the parents, we have to,
be able to survive that.
When I write the music, I say that I write it for the children in our lives and the children inside all of us. So the messages that I choose, a lot of it is guided by whether it's my own experience or the way we experience the world, and I try and flip it through the scope of a child. Some of the themes that I mentioned, especially over the past few years, some of the heavy stuff happening in the world, the pandemic, it's all about writing music that can, like with music therapy, just meeting people where they are, that musical hug, whether it's a ballad or whether it's something, upbeat. Yeah, that's the music that I write. I try to write the kind of song where a grown-up will drop off their child at camp or preschool, wherever, and they're still driving, listening to the music and enjoying it, like
yeah,
enjoying it.
Yeah. So you have fans of all ages that they probably didn't realize they would be a fan of of your style of music, right?
Yeah, I have. It's fun. I've met some of the birthday parties that I do. I'll know the mom and the child, but I will not have met the father, and I'll meet the father and say, "Oh yeah, I love that song. I love that one."
That's so funny.
Bubba and Boo was a really popular one, and there have been times where I say, well, I don't know whether to say thank you or to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
But ultimately, I know, they see their children enjoying the music, and like I say to them, if the music's important to you, it's going to be important to the children. So it's really it's that full experience for everybody.
Right. Now, have you all along, since you've been here in California, have you kept up doing, quote unquote adult music, or was there a time that you picked that back up? How did that go?
Thanks to the pandemic. that was one of the silver linings of the pandemic. Resigned to the idea that and when I say it's probably not the word I'm looking for, but I pretty much like accepted that I was going to be doing children's music, and that was just going to be my thing. I feel like the singer-songwriter world is very saturated, and which again, like, I love what I do. I love, being a Kindie artist, but that doing, Alanis Morissette was like my first, that was what I love to do. And so it sort of, I'm trying to remember how it happened this year, but I think I did a virtual open mic just for fun. And, I had met another musician who was doing children's yoga, but she also played grown up music. And so we joined forces a little bit and played, and I tried an open mic, and then the leader, the MC of that open mic invited me out to perform a couple songs while he was taking a break at this pub in Sonoma. And they asked me if I would like 2 nights there. So
how cool is that?
Yeah. And this was when outdoor dining had just started to open up again.
Oh, okay. And
then I started playing there, and then someone from a different venue approached me. And so it became like during the day I was doing kids music, and the evening doing grown-up music. And that really sort of happened this year.
And is that musically satisfying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fun doing when I was just doing the children's music. It was fun doing that. But now it's been incredible doing it in person, but also, like on social media, where there's so many people that are still staying home. I'm able to pop on Facebook and just play a cover and know that people are gonna enjoy that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you done any live streaming? I mean, a lot of people are doing that. Have you done that on Facebook or anything?
Yes. Oh, yes. So back in February, March of 2020, when just as things were going south, I was performing 6, sometimes 7 days a week in just kids stuff. That weekend, when it was St. Patrick's Day weekend, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just came to a stop. All my classes, all my performances, all the upcoming things, everything was just done. I was supposed to go to Washington, D.C. and play at the Wolf Trap Center, Performing Center out there.
Wow.
Everything just came to a halt. And my first thought was, I wasn't worried about anything other than, what are these families going to do? All these people that, were planning to have me come or planning to come to my classes, these people that show up every single week, what's going to happen? So I thought, I have to do this virtually. I have to, that day that Governor Newsom announced that things were, shelter in place, I created a post and I said, I'm going live at 3 p.m.
That's awesome.
Meet all these different, all the different time zones. And I said, I'm going live on Facebook and YouTube. There's no charge. It's 7 days a week. Show up when you can. We're going to interact in the comments, and it just became like a show. And it's going to be live. And here's my Venmo if you feel inspired to. And I always say support the music. It was never donate. If you feel inspired to support the music, I'm just serving. I'm just putting it out there, and it's all that was my first concern. And so
you were right on it. There are a lot of people who didn't do it for months.
Well, it was not anything polished. It was literally, I just sat in front of my laptop like this and just hit go live. There were no lights. There were no mics. That wasn't until much later, but it was just about showing up. That's all it was, just about showing up. And so people would sign in. They would watch the live stream, and I'd say, all right, let me know who's here in the comments. Let me know who's here, kids' names or whatever. And I would sing hello to every single person that popped.
That's so cool.
I would take song requests. I would do songs that specifically ask questions like, okay, let's say, so Down by the Bay, the Raffi song, Down by the Bay. All right, what are we going to see down by the bay? And I'd have that song going on for like 6 minutes. All the different things, and I would find a rhyme for every single one. Or like I'd say, where we're going on an adventure today. Where are we going? And I mean, and there were birthdays. I would sing happy birthday to everybody. I mean, I would have Rumi, my cat, would pop in, the kids would pop in. I mean, it was like a variety show. And
That's amazing.
I did it 7 days a week, 3 times a day.
How was it attended? Was it pretty well attended? I mean, how many people logged in?
Yeah. Oh, between Facebook and YouTube, I get usually mornings were always busier, and I get somewhere between like 18 to 30 people.
That's fantastic.
Interacting. Yeah. Live interacting. And then after the show up for however long, and it would get, a couple hundred views.
Are there some of those still up where people can look at?
On YouTube they are. Yeah.
Okay.
Facebook,
Great.
I can't remember. I started to get, because I was doing it on my personal page, and didn't want to spam people's news feeds. So I started to delete them or like hide them. If it was a good show, I'd hide it so I could watch it another time.
Yeah.
I would just, delete it. It was all live. So
that's fantastic. That's I mean, that, as we know now, after, almost a year later, that kind of stuff really saved a lot of people's sanity.
Yeah. And also connecting with people. I mean, I've met some pretty incredible people doing that. And I March through July. I did that from March through July, and then took a break in August, went back to it in September because I felt like, okay. And it's sort of again, it became saturated. A lot of people were doing virtual classes, so it didn't have the same steam that it did at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then there was the most recent stay at holidays. So I did the virtual thing again for about a couple weeks. And then I realized, like, I mean, I felt good knowing that I was serving the community, but at the same time, I felt like, okay, I don't have to do this all the time. Like it's okay to take a break, and it's okay to be still, and it's okay to, focus my attention on other projects. So yeah, so I did a little bit, but
yeah. How did you do? I mean, you don't have to get into specifics, because this show is not just for people who aren't artists, but this is also, a lot of artists will be watching this, musicians and stuff. How did you do? Did you do okay financially, like with the, they call it virtual tip jar? Did you actually do all right that way?
I did well. Yeah.
Great.
I did well. And it really wasn't about the money, really. Right. More just like, I mean, it was nice. Like it felt like I had some little like cheerleaders, like, yes, keep doing it. You're doing great. But it was never really about the money. Even like December, there would be times where I'd show up, and the most recent one, and it was probably like, I'd have 5 people there. But I thought, those 5 kids are there singing and smiling, and their parents are enjoying them. So for me, and it's like, and maybe there would be a Venmo come in, and maybe not. There were definitely a couple mornings where there were no Venmos, and I thought, that's okay. There are people there enjoying, and I was having fun, and my kids were, listening to, mom sing holiday music. So it was, but it's, I also think it's different. I've heard different experiences. I think because I'm doing music with families, I think it might have been a different situation if I was just not just a singer-songwriter, but if I was doing, you know what I mean? Because again, it is saturated. I'm doing, a lot of them were families that were coming to my performances, or, hiring me to do events for them. So
right.
I did have a following, but it was also people that they sort of know the routine. They sign their kids up for classes, and it
was kind of the next best thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people, I think, who are genuine artists and just have the need to perform, we'd love to say it's not about the money, but at the same time, we all have bills to pay. That's the angle I was taking, not necessarily, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say that there were moments where I started to feel a little burnout when summer came around. And I think that's part of what caused me to, it wasn't about the money, but I was feeling a little burnt out. People weren't showing up, and it was like, there's all this output that's happening. And realistically, yes, I mean, I'm a musician. This is my main gig. There needs to be some, income for if I'm showing up for an hour and a half every day, you know? So, yes, yeah.
Yeah. And there aren't a lot of people, there'll be some artists that we'll talk to that in the next couple of weeks that they can't make a living doing what they want to do, so it's kind of cool that you're able to, you're surrounded by it, and you're able to have this, essentially your career being music. It's pretty great.
It's like I said, I am so incredibly grateful. It feel like and it's also like during the pandemic, like, oh, how did this hit you? How did that hit you? I feel like 2020 was a really good year for me after my career. And
it's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You don't have to be apologetic about it.
Not apologetic about it. I've had a great career, especially, in the community that I live in. My community is amazing. I love them dearly. And, but, with the pandemic, I've been able to sort of broaden my scope and connect outside of the Bay Area, and now doing music, for grownups as well. It's like 2020 was a really good year for that.
That's good.
Hey friends, it's Megan Schoenbohm. I have a question for you. What is your favorite holiday? My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, which is coming up really soon. Why do I love Thanksgiving? Well, I love the gathering of friends and loved ones, the togetherness, the good food, the laughter, and the start of a season full of lights and good music and more warmth and togetherness. But the one thing I really love about Thanksgiving is that it's a day where we really think about all the things in our lives that we're grateful for. Now, we don't need one day out of the year to be grateful. I like to think we can be grateful every day, and we should be. But Thanksgiving is a good excuse for that. But one thing I noticed is that there really aren't any Thanksgiving songs out there. And so I set out to change that in writing the song Thank You, which is featured on my first album. And so maybe you could let me know in the comments section, what is something you're grateful for this year? Grab your friends, grab your kiddos, let's sing along. Today I feel happy 'cause the sun came out to shine. Mama's singing in the kitchen, it's my very favorite time. The seasons change and leaves are turning brown. The wind blows them softly to the ground. Today we say thank you for all that brings us joy, for all the little blessings, for every girl and boy. Today we say thank you for everything we see. Makes us laugh and makes us have a happy Thanksgiving Day. Today I feel excited 'cause my family's all around. We are spending time together and no one wears a frown. We sit and eat a special meal, sharing stories, having fun. Then we say something we're grateful for. It's hard to pick just one. Today we say thank you for all that brings us joy, for all the little blessings, for every girl and boy. Today we say thank you for everything we see. Makes us laugh and makes us have a happy Thanksgiving Day. I'm grateful for my family, for being strong and healthy, for lots of love and music and the freedom to be me. Today we say thank you for all that brings us joy, for all the little blessings, for every girl and boy. Today we say thank you for everything we see. Makes us laugh,
How far is your reach? You know, since everything's virtual now, and especially last year. I mean, do you have people who are buying your music and fans that are around the country and around the world?
I teamed up with a group, and now I'm spacing on the name, but it was we did a one-off thing, and they were in Australia. That was fun. It was something like it was like Happy Sunshine, something like that. So that there was a family from India that would tune in to my pretty regularly.
Wow. So how did they find you?
I have no idea.
I'm always curious about that.
It was live. Well, I know that I do know that from people that I've spoken to, that if they're friends, either it could be someone sharing it publicly. I certainly don't advertise. So it could be someone sharing it publicly. It could be a friend commenting on the video, and it shows up and it's a public video, so it shows up in someone's newsfeed, and so they check it out. I know for a fact that's how some people have found me. And so,
is there an artist that you admire, either from growing up or recently or whatever? Is there an artist that you kind of would love to emulate their career path?
Ooh, emulate their career path.
And that can mean whatever it means to you.
I could definitely talk about artists that I admire. And I really love my path. I really love the path that I'm on. And I what I love about it is that it's sort of something I'm just going with. I don't feel like I've had to follow anybody,
Right.
try to be like anybody. I've just been sort of doing my own thing, and I wouldn't change my path for anything, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, we can change it to, are there some artists that do similar things that you do, or maybe, you know, either children's artists or you know, or the other, you know, adult music or whatever? Is there, you know, some that you admire?
Yeah, you know what? In that case, Lisa Loeb, actually, she is someone that I grew up with. Her music, rather. Some of my first, you know, like, I mean, I think Stay, her first album was out when I was 12 or 13. And I always loved her music. And then she went on to she actually won a Grammy for a children's album.
Did she?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and she's still very much doing her music, and I think she's found a way to do both kids and adult stuff. That's definitely someone that stands out to me. Alanis Morissette is always going to have a special place in my heart for her music, and I think just her as a human. I feel inspired by her.
That's great.
Yeah, those are the two for sure.
Give me a non-music talent that you have that most people don't know about you.
Ooh, non-music talent would be that I consider myself a very good, I'm laughing, just reasons totally unrelated.
Okay.
No, I consider myself a very good cook and baker.
Great.
And again, which is funny, it's like the whole music therapy thing, meeting someone with where they are. For me, it's like similar to the music, like meeting people in the moment musically. I'm that type of person that's like, tell me what your preferences are, dietary preferences, whatever. I will study and find the best. I'll look at a recipe and I'll know whether it's going to be good or not, and like cater to that specific person's thing. Anyway, so I consider myself a good cook and baker.
What's your go-to stuff? What do you like to cook and bake?
I love I love vegetables, like Mediterranean, you know, Middle Eastern, baking. I mean, everything. I have a tradition with my kids. Every year they get to choose what they want for their birthday cake. And it's not just about the flavor or whatever. It's the design, like the character or what they want. And I will like, I'll make my own fondant. I'll like get the 3D like cakes and like shave it down and like outspend.
That's awesome.
Like making them some epic birthday cake that they may or may not even, you know, care about.
Well, they'll look back and see photos. They'll care. Trust me. So, you're one of the few people I know who actually knows how to work with fondant.
Yeah, knows. Yeah, it's not my favorite.
I've always said that fondant doesn't taste like it looks it like it should taste.
Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance beneath the stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make romance neath the color of October skies. And all the leaves on the trees are falling to the sounds of the breezes that blow. And I'm trying to please to the calling to your heartstrings that play soft and low. You know the night magic seems to whisper in hush, and all the star moonlight seems to shine in your blush. Get out yourself one more dance with you, my love. Get out, just make some more romance with you, my love. Well, I wanna make love to you tonight. I can't wait till the morning has come. And I know that the timing is just right, and straight into my arms you will run. Well, I know my heart will be waiting to make sure that you're never alone. There and then all my dreams will come too dear. There and then I will make you my own. And every time I touch you, I just tremble inside. And I know how much I want you. Oh, that I can't hide. Can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love? Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make romance neath the color of October skies. And all the leaves on the trees are falling to the sounds of the breezes that blow. And I'm trying to please to the calling to your heartstrings that play soft and low. You know the night's magic seems to whisper in hush, and all the sun moonlight seems to shine in your blush. Can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love? Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? And the moonlight, oh la 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 la. Can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love?
So where ideally, I don't want to give the where will you be in 5 years thing, but 5-10 years, just in the future, where would you, when the kids are older and you're in a different phase, right? I mean, what would be your ideal career, just off the top of your head from where you are right now? What would you like to be doing in the future?
Oh, well, I mean, I love what I'm doing right now. Still, I mean, songwriting, performing, the word that comes up to me, and it will always come up to me, is just serving. And whether it be through, like some sort of show, like virtually, whether it be, I mean, of course I prefer in person, like always.
Right.
But then at the same time, there's this little pool of that I really enjoy. I don't know. It's like if I, when I was much younger, I would have been like, I want to be, famous. And for me, it's not so much about that anymore. It's like I love I love where I am in my life. And I think what's important to me is that music is there. I think it's always going to be there as long as I'm able to perform. But I'm feeling like, at least where I am right now, there's a lot of love in my world right now, and it's really nurturing that part too. So being able to have that balance. So balance years from now, 5 years from now, is maintaining that balance of being able to do what I love, be with the people that I love, and be good to myself and all that. So
Do you have plans to at the moment, is it on your mind to do an adult album?
I get asked that all the time.
And what's your answer?
I have various thoughts around it. I have been writing, it's actually really hard for me to write grown-up music. It used to be a lot easier when I write adult music. And so I never say never. It's not in the immediate plans. I have one song that people really enjoy, and I feel like, oh, that might be fun as a single just for fun. But to do a full-length album of 12 songs, I feel like it's probably years. Might be a couple years. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. So tell me about the new album. Tell me the name, the inspiration, when you expect it to be out, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I was just about to say that. My new album, right now it's called album number 3. So there's a song on there called Special. And originally I thought, oh, I love this song so much, that's going to be the title track. But then I started writing more songs and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great one. That's, that'll work too. And so it doesn't really have a name just yet, but album number 3 is what I'm lovingly calling it now. I'm expecting it to be out in September.
Okay.
We're in February now. I feel like giving it a good, how many months is that from now? 7 months from now? Oh yeah, I think, we're in a pandemic, I guess. I was saying last year that it would happen, but this year I'm actually physically recording and editing right now. So
what are you going to fill those 7 months up doing? Just tightening songs up or just?
It's a good question. So I say September just because I feel like it's a good time of year. That's when I released my second album, You Are Enough. I felt like it was a good time of year to release it. And, it's not too soon before the holidays. People start thinking about the holidays.
So it's a little less pressure.
A little less pressure. Oh, yeah. Well, and it gives me some time. Like right now, I've got 6 songs recorded. I'm gonna need to record probably, 3 or 4 more, I think, to, feel like I've got a good full meaty album. I'm doing all the instruments myself. I'm gonna want to change some things here and there. I was talking about the banjo earlier, which I love the banjo, but that thing it's hard to keep it in tune. I mean, not just that, I'm saying banjos in general, they really, there's definitely an art to keeping it tuned. So, there's going to be some more tracking and editing. And then of course there's the post-production. So mixing, mastering. My sister-in-law is an incredible graphic artist. So getting her to do some of the artwork, if she has time, and the post-production, which I've never done before. But, I'm prepared to learn to do it, right? As I've said,
that's good. Yeah. So you are planning on engineering it yourself?
Well, I've been doing all the recording myself. Yeah, I got all my own gear. Oh, so I've been doing the recording in a 130-year-old historic inn, up in the redwoods of Northern California. And so I think it's just got the vibes. I've been sort of, huddled up in like this gorgeous master bedroom, like doing all the recording in there. And we'll see. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll get somebody to do it. I don't know.
Well, you have time. You set a good easy goal, or you got some padding.
Yeah.
So the recording process for you, when let's say you're working on a specific song, do you find yourself wanting to tweak the heck out of it forever, or are you able to make decisions and just put it together?
That's a good question. I think I tend to be more, and this is where my stubborn Taurus mind kicks, is that I like to just like do it and just, like when I'm recording, I'll do with what I've been doing now, I'll with like acoustic guitar, rhythm guitar, I'll do 5 solid tracks. So if that means that I'm doing like 20 takes, I got to get 5 good solid takes that I can listen through and go through with a fine tooth comb. But that's it. I'm limiting myself to that, and if there's one little, pinch of a string, it's like,
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. It like how, because we all record differently, and I do find myself, even after I've done a ton of work and I'll listen to it and I'll go, I think I want to take it another direction.
yeah.
You do kind of have to limit yourself, or it never comes out, right?
Like the banjo, like, so I did probably like 4 good takes of the banjo, and I did not just the banjo chords, but also some arpeggios and some soloing, and I'm listening back and I'm like, tuning. I know I tuned it right before, but it's like, you have to, it's really, if you ask, I am not a banjo player. I didn't even play a banjo until I recorded. So
it's your own fault.
There's going to be someone out there who plays the banjo that's just like, but, and I listen back and I'm just like, there's the thought that crosses my mind, maybe I'll just bury it in the mix.
It's almost like you want to kind of use the, I saw one of your posts on Facebook, you use Logic Pro.
Yes.
So you almost want to use one of the instruments, a MIDI instrument.
Well,
You won't go that far?
I won't go that far. For my album You Are Enough, I did some synth stuff, but that's sort of where I'll draw. I feel like if I'm gonna do the instrument, you got to do the real instrument. Even
right.
Album, the mandolin. That thing. It was an old mandolin that I found at like the treasure flea or whatever on Treasure Island.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's a mandolin. It's the sound. And maybe I'll do some more banjo takes. I don't know, but
that's so funny.
It's like, it'll work.
That's awesome. Well, as you know, we're going to put links and stuff to things, for where people can find you and follow you and, purchase the music and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have all that up. I forgot. I do have one more question. Has there been a scenario where you met a celebrity in person, and it could be a musician or actor or whatever, that you were enamored with? How did that scenario go?
Yeah. So not so much a celebrity, but oh gosh. So December of 2019, and it was the whole series of events. It's mind blowing. But anyway, long story short, I was sitting on a tour bus with Thievery Corporation. It was amazing. They are wonderful people, and that was definitely a profound moment. But as far as,
how did that happen? Were you hitchhiking?
No, it was fun. I bought a ticket to their. I love Thievery Corporation, and I've seen them multiple times, and I bought a ticket to their show. One ticket just for myself. A gentleman had messaged me on Facebook and to ask me out, and I said, well. He said, I'm going away on a trip tomorrow, and I was wondering if you wanted to go out for a drink tonight. And I don't really drink. And I said, well, I'm going to see Thievery Corporation tonight, and if, you want to come say hi, you're welcome to. And he said, well, that'd be great. I'll get in touch with their people and see if they can get me a ticket. And I was like, what? He works for this synthesizer company that the band uses their synthesizers, and he knew the sound people, so he came to the show, and we met up, and I was clearly like, I was like, I'm gonna watch the band, like I'm here for the band. And he said, he's like, well, come see me at the soundboard after the show. And so I went there, and he was like, we're gonna go meet the band. And I was like,
oh, he made a big impression.
It was very nice of him. I was there for the band.
Right.
So I got to meet the band, and I was talking to the drummer who, I'm still, in touch with, Jeff, who's just awesome. And he was doing his own project, and now I'm totally plugging him. But he was just like, hey, you want to hear some of my music? And he had some of his music, that's from the tracks on the tour bus. And I went on the tour bus and met the band, and it was, I was sort of
in a happy place.
happy. I'm still like, how did that even happen? So that was a really interesting, but I haven't really met too many celebrities. It's not really my thing, I guess.
I mean, that's a good story. I don't know where these, when I asked that kind of question, I have no idea where that's going. That was a great story.
Yeah. It was nice. It was kind of like one last hurrah before the world shut down.
Yeah. That's a good question. What was the last live show you saw before everything shut down?
Thievery Corporation. I mean, I was performing. I performed in January and February, and one of my last shows, was March. So I see, I don't really get to live shows all that often.
Right.
I have my kids half the week, and so I reserved it just for like stuff like Thievery Corporation or so that was the last one.
Yeah. I remember posting on Facebook last year, I think in March or April, and I said I will be so mad if the last movie I saw in a theater was Sonic the Hedgehog. And it still is to this day.
Oh, mine too, actually.
What would you say to your fans, just for them sticking with you and enjoying your music, that kind of thing, supporting you?
I try to say this as often as possible, but I really just thank you. Just thank you for, for making this all possible. I could not be where I am, in my life if it wasn't for the community that I live in. And that it's, I feel the love, and I feel like I always say I send the love right back to them, knowing that I can contribute in a positive way and shine light in people's world just through music, just through something that I'm so passionate about. It's like I could never call this work ever. It's not work. It's just it's love. It's love, and it's just who I am. But to all the people out there who have ever supported, in passing or whatever, it's just grateful for every turn and wind in this amazing road that's brought me here. So
great. Well, so nice to meet you. Thanks again so much, Megan. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.